The autumn leaves danced along the streets of our small Ohio town, their vibrant hues reflecting the bittersweet nature of change. I often found solace in the familiar sights and sounds of the seasonal festivals, where laughter mingled with the aroma of caramel apples and spiced cider. Yet, as I strolled through the town square, a sense of unease settled in my chest, one that I hadn't felt in years. After years of raising my stepson, I had grown accustomed to his absence. He left for college when he was barely more than a boy, and during those years, I poured my heart into nurturing him. We shared countless moments, his first bike ride, school plays, and late-night talks about dreams and fears. But now, as the crisp air heralded his return home as a man, everything felt different. The boy I once knew had transformed into someone unrecognizable yet achingly familiar. He arrived unexpectedly one Friday evening while I was preparing dinner. The door swung open to reveal him standing there with a shy smile and a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. My heart skipped a beat at the sight of him, tall and confident, with an easy charm that made me forget all about the mundane tasks waiting for me in the kitchen. "Hey," he said casually, but there was an intensity behind those words that sent a shiver down my spine. "Welcome back," I managed to reply, forcing a smile while my mind raced with memories of his childhood. How could this be the same boy who once needed help tying his shoes? As days turned into weeks, his presence stirred something within me that had long been buried. The casual conversations over breakfast became electric with unspoken tension. I found myself stealing glances at him when he wasn't looking, at how he laughed or how his hands moved when he spoke. It was unnerving to feel this way about someone who had once been so innocent. My husband seemed oblivious to the shift occurring around us. He was preoccupied with work stress and often came home late from meetings at the brewery downtown. The distance between us grew wider as he buried himself in spreadsheets and deadlines while I tried to hold on to whatever semblance of normalcy remained in our lives. One evening, we gathered for dinner, a rare occasion these days. The table was set with our favorite dishes, roasted chicken and fresh vegetables from the farmer's market nearby. As we ate, my stepson shared stories about college life, his friends, classes, and adventures that felt so foreign to me now. "You should come visit sometime," he said to me playfully. "I can show you around." "Maybe," I replied lightly but felt a flutter of something deeper beneath my skin at the thought. Later that night, as I washed dishes alone in the kitchen while my husband retreated to watch television in another room, my stepson wandered into the space behind me. He leaned against the counter casually, but there was an intensity in his gaze that made it hard to breathe. "Do you ever miss those days?" he asked softly after a moment of silence. "What days?" I replied absently, trying to focus on scrubbing off remnants of dinner. "Us being close," he said simply. The air thickened between us. It felt charged with an energy that made every nerve ending alive. My heart raced as memories flooded back, the late-night talks where secrets were shared like precious treasures, and suddenly all those feelings I'd tucked away came rushing back like a tidal wave. "I don't know what you mean," I said too quickly. He stepped closer then, our eyes locked for an instant before reality crashed back down around us like thunder on a clear day. My heart pounded at this sudden shift, a fleeting moment where everything felt possible yet utterly forbidden. That night haunted me as I lay awake beside my husband who slept soundly beside me unaware of what lurked beneath our roof, a secret yearning ignited by his own son's return home. Days passed like this, each moment tinged with tension that threatened to spill over into something unmanageable if left unchecked. Guilt gnawed at me relentlessly. Every time we exchanged glances or shared laughter during family outings or quiet evenings together became fraught with meaning beyond what should have existed between us. One afternoon at the local park while watching leaves fall lazily from trees above us, a serene lake shimmering nearby, I found myself seated on a bench beside him again. It felt natural yet wrong all at once. We talked easily about nothing important, but it wasn't long before silence enveloped us like fog rolling across water's surface, thickening until breathing became difficult under its weight. "Do you think things will ever change?" he asked, suddenly breaking through stillness surrounding us both. His eyes searching mine, earnestly seeking answers neither of us could articulate clearly enough without crossing lines we dared not approach openly yet desperately wanted to explore privately, away from prying eyes watching closely, always ready for judgment should they catch wind any hint. Betrayal lurking beneath surface appearances maintained carefully thus far intact despite growing cracks. Threatening breakage imminent if not addressed soon enough before spiraling out control entirely beyond repair if allowed fester unchecked indefinitely without intervention necessary sooner rather than later, perhaps even now before it's too late, already lost, forever gone beyond reach, never able reclaim what once was ours alone, shared intimately together without fear, hiding shadows lurking just outside, waiting patiently, biding time until opportunity arises, seize moment, finally break free. Chains binding hearts, souls alike trapped inside cages built over years, slowly suffocating, slowly choking life essence away, leaving nothing behind, mere husks, memories fading fast, forgotten whispers carried away, winds passing through empty spaces once filled, laughter, joy, warmth, love shared freely, openly, without hesitation, doubt lingering, always questioning, choices made a long way leading here today, standing brink, abyss peering down, depths dark, unknown filled, uncertainty, longing, desire aching. Hearts yearning, fulfillment found nowhere else except each other, perhaps only here now, right now. But before answers could form fully within minds, swirling thoughts racing ahead faster than words could ever hope catch up, reality intruded abruptly, shattering fragile peace held tightly, clutched hands trembling slightly, betraying inner turmoil raging beneath surface calm. Exterior maintained diligently, outwardly projecting strength, confidence masking vulnerability, exposed raw honesty hidden deep inside, begging release, somehow escape confines imposed externally by society norms, expectations placed upon shoulders, heavy laden burdens carried silently throughout lives lived thus far, traversing paths winding, twisting endlessly onward toward destinations unknown, uncertain futures looming ahead, beckoning brightly, promising adventures await just beyond. Horizon shimmering, tantalizingly close yet still so far away. And then came sound, footsteps echoing softly behind, approaching swiftly, breaking spell cast, momentarily lost midst reverie, drifting ever deeper, unaware, consequences looming large overhead, casting shadows, long darkening skies, threatening storms brewing rapidly, approaching fast, leaving little time prepare, brace, impact inevitable soon arrive, crashing waves sweeping everything away, leaving nothing untouched. The dinner table was set with care, the warm glow of candlelight flickering against the walls. The aroma of roasted chicken mingled with herbs filled the air, creating a comforting atmosphere that belied the tension simmering just beneath the surface. I busied myself with serving the food, trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy, even as my heart raced at the thought of him sitting just across from me. He had changed so much since I last saw him. The boy I once knew had transformed into a man with an easy confidence and a smile that could light up any room. I caught myself stealing glances when I thought no one was looking, my breath hitching whenever our eyes met. It was unsettling, this feeling that stirred within me like a tempest ready to break free. My husband sat at the head of the table, engrossed in conversation about work. He spoke animatedly about projects and deadlines, his voice booming with authority. Yet, as he talked, I felt a growing distance between us. The warmth that once enveloped our marriage had faded into something colder and more distant. My mind drifted back to my stepson, the way he leaned back in his chair, relaxed and self-assured. "Pass the potatoes," he said casually, breaking my reverie. I reached for the bowl but hesitated as our fingers brushed against each other briefly. A jolt of electricity surged through me, a reminder of how easily desire could ignite in unexpected moments. "Here you go," I managed to say while avoiding his gaze, hoping my voice didn't betray my inner turmoil. As dinner progressed, laughter filled the room sporadically, my husband's stories eliciting chuckles from both of us, but it felt forced on my part. Beneath it all lay an unspoken tension, a current that connected us yet threatened to pull us under if we weren't careful. After dinner, we moved to the living room for dessert. My husband settled onto the couch with a satisfied sigh while I cleared away plates and utensils. As I worked quietly in the kitchen, I could feel his presence nearby. The way he occupied space now felt different than before. It was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. When I returned with slices of pie topped with whipped cream, I found him standing by the window gazing out into the night. The moonlight cast soft shadows on his face. He looked contemplative and far away from here, lost in thoughts that felt like secrets shared only between us. "Beautiful night," he said without turning around. "It is," I replied softly, setting down the plates on the coffee table. He turned then to look at me fully. Those familiar eyes held something deeper now, a hint of longing perhaps? My heart raced as silence stretched between us like an uncharted territory waiting to be explored. "I missed this place," he said suddenly, breaking through my thoughts again. "Me too," came out before I could stop it. It felt true yet laden with meaning beyond mere words exchanged in passing conversation. In that moment, our eyes locked again, a connection igniting something primal within me that had lain dormant for too long. The weight of guilt pressed heavily on my chest as if it were tangible, a reminder of everything at stake should we cross this line together. I took a step back instinctively but found myself trapped by an invisible force pulling me closer instead, an undeniable chemistry drawing us together against all reason or logic governing our lives thus far. "We should probably get back," I suggested weakly as if saying it would somehow quell this fire building between us. But instead of retreating further into safety's embrace where nothing could touch us anymore, he stepped forward closing whatever distance remained until there was only breath separating our lips. My heart pounded furiously against my ribcage urging me onward even as caution whispered warnings deep within me not to proceed down this path fraught with danger ahead. And then, we kissed. The world around us faded into oblivion. Nothing else mattered except that fleeting moment where time stood still. The taste of sweetness mixing with uncertainty lingering long after our lips parted again reluctantly leaving behind echoes resonating deeply inside both of us now forever changed by what transpired here tonight amidst shadows cast by flickering flames dancing across walls surrounding us. "I shouldn't have done that," he murmured breathlessly afterward stepping back suddenly as if awakening from some dream neither one dared fully embrace yet couldn't ignore either any more than we could deny reality waiting outside these four walls beckoning ominously toward consequences looming large overhead threatening everything we held dear. "I know," came out almost instinctively though guilt weighed heavily upon every syllable spoken aloud breaking silence lingering thickly around us now feeling suffocating unable escape confines imposed externally by society norms expectations placed upon shoulders. Heavy laden burdens carried silently throughout lives lived thus far traversing paths winding twisting endlessly onward toward destinations unknown uncertain futures looming ahead beckoning brightly promising adventures await just beyond horizon shimmering tantalizingly close yet still so far away. We stood there caught between desire and duty, two souls intertwined momentarily yet separated by choices made long ago leading us here tonight standing before each other trembling under weighty implications hanging heavily above heads spinning wildly out control threatening chaos descending rapidly upon unsuspecting hearts yearning desperately find solace somewhere amidst turmoil raging deep within. "I need some air," he finally said breaking spell cast over both unwilling participants caught up in whirlwind emotions spiraling downward toward inevitable reckoning awaiting arrival soon enough crashing waves sweeping everything away leaving nothing untouched including fragile bonds formed through years spent navigating life together side by side despite challenges faced along way shaping who we became today. I nodded numbly watching him slip outside into darkness disappearing from view leaving behind echoes reverberating through empty space. The silence louder than ever reminding me starkly how fragile everything truly was teetering precariously on edge brink collapse threatening unraveling threads woven tightly binding families together torn apart by choices made recklessly without forethought consequences. Looming large overhead casting shadows long darkening skies threatening storms brewing. Rapidly approaching fast leaving little time prepare brace impact inevitable soon arrive crashing waves sweeping everything away leaving nothing untouched. The evening air was thick with tension as I stood at the window, watching the last remnants of daylight fade. Thoughts swirled in my mind like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind, chaotic and unpredictable. The family dinner had been a facade, each laugh and smile masking the undercurrents of desire that pulsed between us. I could almost hear the whispers of my conscience urging me to step back, to remember my commitments. But the pull was too strong, and I found myself lost in memories of stolen glances and fleeting touches. Days passed, each one feeling heavier than the last. The thrill of our secret connection was intoxicating yet suffocating, a double-edged sword that cut deeper with every moment spent together. Our paths crossed in fleeting encounters, an accidental brush of hands while reaching for the same coffee mug or a shared laugh over an inside joke that only we understood. Each moment felt charged with unspoken words, a promise hanging in the air. I often found myself at the local tavern after work, seeking solace among familiar faces and old friends. The warm glow of the place wrapped around me like a comforting blanket, but it couldn't shield me from the reality I was avoiding. My husband's increasing absence loomed over me like a dark cloud. He was consumed by work stress, leaving little room for our relationship to breathe. One evening, as I sat nursing a drink at the bar, I felt his presence before I turned to look. He stood just inside the door, silhouetted against the light spilling in from outside. Time had transformed him into someone undeniably attractive, tall and confident, with an easy smile that sent shivers down my spine. Our eyes locked for what felt like an eternity before he sauntered over, his casual demeanor belying the tension crackling between us. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his voice low enough to send warmth flooding through me. "Of course," I replied, trying to keep my tone steady despite my racing heart. As we talked about nothing and everything, a shared love for local breweries and memories from years past, the world around us faded away. It was as if we were cocooned in our own bubble, oblivious to everything else. The laughter came easily, it felt so natural being near him again. Then came that moment when our conversation shifted from light banter to something deeper. We spoke about dreams unfulfilled and paths not taken. There was an honesty that hung in the air between us like a tangible thread connecting our souls. And just like that, amidst laughter and shared stories, our lips met, an innocent collision fueled by pent-up emotions that had been simmering beneath the surface for far too long. The kiss shattered any remaining defenses I had built around myself. It was reckless yet exhilarating, a moment suspended in time where nothing else mattered but us. As quickly as it began, we pulled away from each other, shock etched across both our faces. "What have we done?" I whispered breathlessly. He looked at me with wide eyes filled with uncertainty but also something more, an undeniable spark of desire mirrored in my own gaze. "I don't know," he admitted quietly. Panic surged through me as reality crashed back down like a wave against rocks. What had started as innocent attraction had spiraled into something much more dangerous, the very thing I had vowed never to pursue again after years of commitment to my family. We left the tavern separately that night, two ships passing in stormy seas without acknowledging their shared turmoil below deck. The thrill lingered long after we parted ways, a haunting reminder of what could be if only circumstances were different. Days turned into weeks filled with stolen moments where every glance felt electric and every touch ignited flames within me that hadn't flickered for years. Yet guilt gnawed at my insides relentlessly. It wrapped itself around my heart like vines choking out life from within. One crisp Saturday afternoon during an autumn festival, full of laughter echoing through vibrant stalls adorned with pumpkins, I found myself caught between two worlds, one filled with tradition and family ties while another beckoned me toward forbidden desires waiting just beyond reach. As we walked together among booths selling caramel apples and handmade crafts, the air fragrant with cinnamon, I couldn't shake off how out of place this all felt anymore. How bittersweet it was to share these moments when part of my heart yearned for something beyond mere familial bonds. "Look at this," he said, suddenly pointing toward a booth displaying intricate pottery pieces crafted by local artisans. "This would look great on your shelf." I smiled weakly at his enthusiasm but couldn't help glancing toward where my husband mingled nearby with friends, his laughter ringing hollow against everything else happening around us. "I think you're right," I replied half-heartedly while forcing myself back into reality. A reality where choices made would come crashing down sooner or later upon us both if we weren't careful enough not to tread further down this path already fraught with danger lurking just beneath surface calmness surrounding us now. In that moment, surrounded by twinkling lights illuminating festive decorations strung above heads buzzing with excitement, I sensed something shift within him as well. An urgency brewing beneath calm exterior masking deeper feelings threatening break free from confines held tightly shut until now. "Meet me later," he suggested, quietly leaning closer so only I could hear him over chatter filling space around us, his breath warm against skin sending shivers coursing through veins, awakening sensations long dormant inside me yearning release once again. I hesitated, briefly weighing consequences against desires bubbling forth threatening drown reason entirely, but ultimately nodded slowly, feeling both exhilaration mixed dread clash violently within, heart beating wildly against ribcage, reminding me how fragile balance truly was, teetering dangerously close edge cliff waiting plunge headfirst into unknown depths below. After sharing quick goodbyes amidst throngs celebrating harvest season, we parted ways, promising ourselves nothing else mattered except fleeting rendezvous awaiting later tonight, undercover stars twinkling brightly overhead, watching silently over lives intertwined, fates entwined, forever changed because choices made here today. The evening air was crisp, a stark contrast to the warmth that lingered from our earlier encounter. I found myself at the local tavern, surrounded by laughter and the clinking of glasses, yet feeling an undeniable isolation. The autumn festival buzzed outside, filled with families enjoying hayrides and caramel apples. My heart raced with anticipation and fear as I sat alone at a corner table, nursing a drink that did little to calm my nerves. The thrill of our secret weighed heavily on me. I replayed the moments we had shared since his return, the stolen glances, the lingering touches, and the electric sparks that ignited with every interaction. Each memory was a reminder of how quickly everything could unravel. My mind wandered back to that fateful night when we spent the night together. The world outside faded away as we lost ourselves in each other's presence, a cocoon of warmth amidst an impending storm. I glanced at my phone, half expecting a message from him, but nothing came through. The silence felt deafening. What if this was all just a fleeting moment? What if he had changed his mind? I shook my head, trying to dispel the doubts creeping in like shadows at dusk. It was easier to focus on the thrill than confront the chaos brewing in my life. As I took another sip of my drink, I noticed an old friend entering the tavern, someone I hadn't seen in years. She spotted me immediately and made her way over with a warm smile that felt like a lifeline thrown amidst turbulent waters. "Hey! Long time no see," she exclaimed as she slid into the seat across from me. "Yeah, it's been ages," I replied, forcing a smile while my heart raced for entirely different reasons. We exchanged pleasantries about life, work, and family, the usual small talk that felt trivial compared to what was brewing beneath the surface of my own existence. Yet her presence reminded me of who I used to be before this tangled web of secrets ensnared me. "You look different," she observed after a moment of silence hung between us. "More alive?" I chuckled lightly but felt heat rise to my cheeks. "Just enjoying life's little moments." Her eyes narrowed slightly as she studied me more intently than I was comfortable with. "You sure it's all good moments? You can tell me if something's bothering you." The urge to confide in her surged within me. Perhaps sharing even just a sliver of my truth would relieve some weight off my shoulders. But then thoughts of my husband flashed through my mind, the stress he carried from work and how oblivious he remained to what was unfolding right under his nose. "Really, it's nothing," I said too quickly, dismissing her concern with a wave of my hand. She nodded slowly but didn't look convinced. All right then. Her tone shifted slightly as she leaned in closer. But remember, sometimes it helps to talk things out. I appreciated her sentiment but couldn't shake off the nagging feeling that revealing anything would only complicate matters further. After our brief reunion ended, her departing with promises to catch up again soon, I returned to my drink feeling oddly unsettled yet grateful for her visit. As I stared into the glass swirling before me, thoughts spiraled back toward him, the man who had transformed from boyhood into someone entirely captivating during his time away. That night loomed large ahead, a secret rendezvous awaited us under starlit skies where no one else could intrude upon what we had begun building together despite its fragility. Later at home, once darkness enveloped everything outside like a thick blanket muffling sounds around us, I heard him arrive quietly through the door as if trying not to disturb anything fragile within this house filled with unspoken truths. His presence enveloped me instantly. It was intoxicating yet terrifying all at once, a reminder of what lay ahead if we continued down this path together without regard for consequences looming ever closer like storm clouds gathering overhead. "Hey," he whispered softly as he stepped into view, his eyes searching mine for reassurance or perhaps something more profound than words could convey at this moment between us both. "Hey," I managed to reply while fighting against rising emotions threatening to spill over despite knowing better than to let them take control now when clarity mattered most. He crossed over towards me until there was barely any space left between us. My heart raced faster still as memories flooded back unbidden, laughter shared over dinners long ago, quiet moments spent watching movies huddled close on chilly nights. All those times where love felt easy and uncomplicated before everything spiraled outwards into this tangled mess now threatening everything once held dear. "We shouldn't be doing this," I whispered, finally breaking through silence surrounding us like an invisible barrier holding back realities pressing hard against both our hearts, yearning for solace found only within each other's arms despite knowing how wrong it truly was. Deep down inside where guilt simmered just beneath surface, waiting patiently for chance exposed truths hidden away, carefully cloaked behind smiles worn too long, pretending normalcy remained intact even when cracks formed slowly, spreading wider each day. "I know," he murmured back almost reverently, pulling me closer still until breathless anticipation filled empty spaces left behind by unspoken fears hovering above us both like specters haunting every thought shared between two souls entwined within chaos created by choices made long ago. As our lips met briefly, a fleeting connection igniting fire coursing through veins, reminding how alive feelings could make someone feel even amidst turmoil raging steadily beneath surface. The world around faded away, leaving only us suspended in time, lost, completely unaware how quickly everything could change. We fell deeper into one another's embrace, each kiss drawing forth emotions long buried, now resurfacing, threatening drown reason entirely beneath waves crashing against shores once deemed safe harbor where love flourished freely unencumbered by doubt or guilt until reality intruded once more, shattering illusions crafted carefully over years spent navigating complexities woven throughout lives intertwined, forever altered because choices made here tonight. The days that followed felt like a tightrope walk, each step fraught with the risk of falling into the abyss. My husband's demeanor shifted subtly but unmistakably. He was more watchful, his eyes often lingering on me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. I could sense the growing tension between us, a silent storm brewing beneath the surface of our everyday lives. At dinner one evening, I caught him glancing at his phone, his brow furrowing slightly as he read a message. My heart raced, knowing all too well how fragile our situation had become. I had been careful, too careful, but even the slightest misstep could unravel everything. The thought of being exposed gnawed at me, and I forced myself to smile through the unease. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. "Just work stuff," he replied tersely, setting his phone down as if it were a hot coal. The conversation turned to mundane topics, our plans for the upcoming autumn festival, the changing leaves, but every word felt heavy with unspoken truths. Later that night, after my husband had retreated to bed, I found myself scrolling through social media. A familiar face caught my eye, an old friend from high school who had moved away years ago. We had shared laughs and secrets back then. With a mix of nostalgia and apprehension, I sent her a message, hoping for a brief reconnection amidst this chaos. To my surprise, she replied almost immediately. "I saw you've got some family in town. How's life treating you?" Her cheerful tone felt like a balm against my anxiety. We exchanged pleasantries about our families and lives until she casually mentioned something that made my heart skip a beat. "You know," she typed slowly as if considering her words carefully, "I heard some interesting things about your stepson since he came back. Small towns can be gossipy places." My stomach dropped at her insinuation. "What do you mean?" I typed back quickly. "Oh, just rumors about how he's changed since being away," she continued. "Seems like he's made quite an impression on some people." A chill ran down my spine as her words hung in the air between us like an ominous cloud. Was there something more to those rumors? Did they know? My mind raced with possibilities as I tried to brush off her comments with vague responses while suppressing the growing dread within me. After we finished chatting, sleep eluded me. The shadows danced around the room as I replayed moments from recent weeks, the stolen kisses and whispered promises, each memory now tinged with fear of discovery and regret. The next morning brought little relief. As I prepared breakfast in our cozy kitchen filled with scents of coffee and pancakes, my husband entered quietly, his expression still guarded from last night's tension. He poured himself a cup of coffee without saying much. It was as if we were two strangers sharing space rather than partners bound by years of love and commitment. "Are you going to the festival this weekend?" he finally asked after an uncomfortable silence settled between us like fog over a lake. "I thought I might," I replied cautiously. "Maybe take him along?" He looked up sharply at that suggestion, his eyes narrowed slightly before he nodded curtly in agreement. "Sure." I sensed his hesitation but didn't press further. Instead, I focused on keeping things light while internally battling the whirlwind of emotions threatening to consume me whole. Later that day brought an unexpected twist when I received another message, this time from him. "Can we meet later? Need to talk." My heart raced again. It was too cryptic for comfort yet too urgent to ignore. As evening approached and shadows lengthened outside our window, anticipation mixed with dread filled me as I prepared for our meeting at our usual spot, the quiet park bench overlooking the serene lake where we had shared so many pivotal moments together over the years. When he arrived, there was an intensity in his gaze that sent shivers down my spine, a mixture of longing and uncertainty reflecting back at me under fading sunlight casting golden hues across everything it touched. "I've been thinking," he began softly once we settled onto the bench side by side but not quite touching yet. Distance lingered between us like an unspoken barrier created by choices made recently threatening everything familiar we'd built together over time spent navigating life's complexities hand in hand without doubt until now. "What is it?" My voice came out steadier than expected despite racing thoughts swirling around inside my mind like leaves caught in autumn winds swirling chaotically around us both waiting for clarity amidst confusion looming ever closer threatening to engulf everything if left unchecked. Something feels different." He paused briefly searching for words before continuing hesitantly, "I don't want anything to come between us." Those words hung heavily in the air, they echoed within me. A haunting reminder of what lay beneath surface-level interactions masked by routine familiarity crafted carefully over years spent building trust slowly chipped away by secrecy now threatening collapse entirely under weighty burdens carried alone. "I don't want that either," I admitted quietly feeling tears prickling behind closed eyelids fighting against rising tide threatening overflow into reality surrounding us both suffocating slowly under pressure built up over time spent navigating complexities woven throughout lives, intertwined forever altered because choices made here tonight. In that moment shared between breaths filled with uncertainty lingering thickly around us like fog rolling across still waters reflecting hidden depths below waiting patiently for storms brewing above break loose unleashing chaos upon unsuspecting shores once deemed safe. Harbor where love flourished freely unencumbered by doubt or guilt until reality intruded once more shattering illusions crafted carefully over years spent navigating complexities woven throughout lives intertwined forever. Altered because choices made here tonight. As dusk settled around us enveloping everything in soft twilight hues blending seamlessly into darkness creeping closer inching ever nearer readying itself for inevitable confrontation lurking just beyond reach waiting patiently while hearts raced wildly. Beneath skin taut stretched thin holding secrets tightly wrapped within fragile frames barely containing turmoil raging steadily beneath surface readying itself for release. Then suddenly without warning, a flash illuminated everything momentarily blinding senses before plunging into darkness once more leaving echoes ringing loudly within minds grappling desperately against overwhelming tides threatening drown reason entirely beneath waves crashing against shores once deemed safe harbor where love flourished freely unencumbered by doubt or guilt until reality intruded once more shattering illusions crafted carefully over years spent navigating complexities woven throughout lives intertwined forever altered because choices made here tonight. The air hung heavy with tension, a palpable weight that pressed against my chest. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the remnants of breakfast, coffee gone cold and a half-eaten toast. The morning light filtered through the window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the stillness, but all I could focus on was the chaos swirling inside me. The message lingered in my mind like a ghost, a specter of what could unravel my carefully constructed facade. I had thought I could manage this whirlwind of emotions, but with each passing day, it grew more difficult to maintain the illusion. My stepson had returned home, and with him came an undeniable pull that was impossible to ignore. I was drawn to him in ways that both exhilarated and terrified me. Each shared glance felt charged with unspoken words, each accidental brush of our hands igniting memories of moments we shared before he left. The door creaked open behind me, and my husband entered the room. He looked tired, his eyes shadowed by sleepless nights spent worrying about work. "Morning," he said, his voice low and gravelly. "Morning," I replied, forcing a smile that felt foreign on my lips. He poured himself a cup of coffee and leaned against the counter, glancing at me with an unreadable expression. "You okay? You seem distracted." "I'm fine," I insisted too quickly, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. "Just thinking." "About what?" His brow furrowed slightly as he took a sip from his mug. I hesitated for a moment, weighing my options. Should I share my turmoil or keep it buried beneath layers of domestic normalcy? "Just work stuff," I finally said. He nodded but didn't seem convinced. The silence stretched between us like a chasm filled with unspoken truths. My heart raced as I thought about how close we were to crossing lines that could never be uncrossed. Later that day, I decided to take a walk at the park near our home, and escape from the mounting pressure within our walls. The vibrant colors of autumn surrounded me as leaves crunched underfoot. Their beauty was bittersweet against the backdrop of my internal conflict. As I reached the lake's edge, I found solace in its stillness. But even there, tranquility eluded me. My thoughts drifted back to him, the way he had transformed during his time away into someone who was no longer just a boy but a man full of promise and complexity. Our encounters had become fraught with tension, every shared moment seemed laden with unacknowledged feelings. I sat on a bench overlooking the water when suddenly I spotted him walking toward me, a casual stroll that belied the intensity brewing beneath our surface interactions. He approached slowly, hands shoved in his pockets as he offered me a tentative smile. "Hey," he said softly as he settled beside me. "Hey," I replied, trying to sound casual despite my racing heart. We exchanged small talk about nothing and everything until silence enveloped us once more, a comfortable yet charged quiet that hung thick in the air around us. Then he turned toward me fully, his expression earnest and searching. "Is everything okay?" he asked quietly. I met his gaze and felt vulnerability wash over me like an unexpected wave crashing against shores long thought secure. "It's complicated," I admitted at last. "I get it." He leaned closer slightly, our shoulders brushed together, a simple gesture that sent shivers down my spine. "Sometimes things change when you least expect them." His words hung between us like an invitation or perhaps an acknowledgement of what lay beneath our conversations, the uncharted territory we were both skirting around but not daring to enter fully. Suddenly aware of how close we were sitting together on that bench overlooking shimmering waters reflecting autumn hues, I pulled back slightly as if distance could quell this storm inside me, this pull towards something forbidden yet intoxicatingly real. "I should go," I murmured abruptly as anxiety gripped my chest once more like iron shackles tightening around fragile resolve. He nodded slowly but didn't move away. Instead, he reached out gently to touch my arm, a fleeting connection that sent electric currents racing through my skin. "Just know I'm here if you need someone to talk to." I managed a weak smile before rising from the bench. Retreating felt necessary yet painful all at once, as if leaving behind pieces of myself along with him, pieces tangled up in confusion and desire battling for dominance within this chaotic landscape we'd created together without even realizing it until now. As dusk began settling over Ohio's small town like velvet draping softly across fading light, shadows crept into every corner where secrets lingered just out of sight, waiting patiently for their moment under harsh scrutiny cast by bright lights illuminating dark truths hidden carefully beneath layers built over years spent navigating complexities woven throughout lives intertwined, forever altered because choices made here tonight. When I returned home later that evening after losing track of time in contemplation by serene waters reflecting vibrant colors fading into darkness around them, my heart sank upon seeing something lying on our living room table, an item unmistakably belonging to him, a small piece of clothing left behind after one reckless encounter too many. Its presence screamed volumes louder than any words ever could about what lay beneath surface appearances crafted so meticulously over years spent navigating complexities woven throughout lives intertwined, forever altered because choices made here tonight. Panic surged through me as realization set in. I couldn't afford for anyone else to discover this evidence lingering carelessly where it shouldn't be. In haste fueled by fear gripping tightly around fragile resolve threatening collapse entirely under weight born from secrets kept hidden far too long, I snatched up fabric, quickly hiding it away deep inside drawer where memories went to die alongside dreams deferred while hoping desperately no one would notice anything amiss. But even as adrenaline coursed through veins urging action against impending doom looming just beyond reach, waiting patiently while hearts raced wildly beneath skin taut stretched thin, holding secrets tightly wrapped within fragile frames barely containing turmoil raging steadily beneath surface, readying itself for release. In those quiet moments alone, surrounded by shadows closing in around edges, dimly lit room where reality intruded once more, shattering illusions crafted carefully over years spent navigating complexities woven throughout lives intertwined, forever altered because choices made here tonight. I knew then there was no turning back anymore. Not now, when everything hung precariously balanced upon razor's edge, teetering dangerously close toward inevitable confrontation, lurking just beyond reach, waiting patiently. The shadows in the dimly lit room seemed to stretch and contract as I sat across from my husband, the tension hanging thick in the air. He had been unusually quiet since he found that message, and the silence felt like a ticking clock, counting down to an inevitable explosion. I could see it in his eyes, the hurt, the confusion, and perhaps even a flicker of betrayal. "I just don't understand why you didn't come to me," he said finally, breaking the stillness. His voice was strained, each word carefully chosen as if he were stepping through a minefield. "Why keep it hidden?" The question hung there, heavy with unspoken accusations. I wanted to answer him honestly but feared the truth would only deepen the chasm between us. Instead, I focused on the table between us. The worn wood that had seen countless meals shared in laughter and warmth now felt like a barrier. It's complicated, I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. The reality of my choices loomed large over our conversation. Complicated? He scoffed, shaking his head in disbelief. You think this is complicated? You've been lying to me. His words stung more than I expected. The guilt twisted inside me like a knife. In that moment, I wanted nothing more than to reach across the table and take his hand, but how could I? With every passing second, my heart weighed heavier with secrets that threatened to spill over. I didn't mean for it to happen, I said softly, searching for some semblance of understanding in his eyes. Didn't mean for what? To betray me? His tone was sharp now, cutting through any pretense of calm we had left. I looked away, unable to meet his gaze any longer. My mind raced back to all those moments that led us here, the laughter shared at family dinners now tainted by what lay beneath the surface. The way my stepson had transformed during his time away became more than just physical, it was a shift within me that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. What about him? My husband's question broke through my thoughts like glass shattering on tile. What about your stepson? My heart raced at the mention of him, my mind filled with memories of stolen glances and secret smiles exchanged during those fleeting moments alone. The thrill of our connection had blinded me to the consequences of crossing that line. He's not what you think, I stammered, grasping for words as panic surged within me. What do you mean? His voice was low now but laced with intensity. A part of me wanted to confess everything, the intensity of our connection and how it had grown from innocent admiration into something much more dangerous, but fear held me back. What would he do if he knew? Would he confront him? Would he hate me even more? Just tell me, he demanded suddenly, slamming his hand against the table with enough force to rattle the dishes. I flinched at his outburst but knew this confrontation was long overdue. He's struggling, I finally admitted, letting some truth slip through my defenses. He's been through so much. Struggling? You think that gives you an excuse? His voice cracked slightly under pressure, an unmistakable sign of vulnerability lurking beneath his anger. No. That's not what I meant. My hands trembled as they rested on my lap, a futile attempt at keeping calm amidst chaos. Then what is it? He leaned closer, searching my face for answers as if they were written there in plain sight. I hesitated again before speaking. He came back different, more mature. The words spilled from my lips before I could stop them, they felt like betrayal even as they left my mouth. Different how? Just, confident. The admission hung between us like an uninvited guest at our dinner table, a reminder of everything that had shifted while we pretended nothing was wrong. And you couldn't talk to me about this change? His expression softened momentarily before hardening again into something unreadable. It wasn't just about him. My voice faltered under scrutiny as new realizations washed over me, about myself and what led us here tonight. It was about us too. The silence stretched painfully long after those words left me, an acknowledgement that both frightened and liberated me simultaneously. But before anything else could be said or understood fully between us, another thought crept into my mind. What if there was more lurking beneath this surface? Then came the twist that shattered everything once again, a revelation buried deep within layers of denial and confusion about who we were as individuals lost amidst tangled emotions surrounding love and loyalty. I found something, he said suddenly, his tone shifted from anger to something colder, more calculated, as if preparing for battle instead of reconciliation. What do you mean? My stomach dropped as dread pooled inside me like ice water coursing through veins once warm with affection now frozen by fear. A message, he replied slowly, each word punctuated by weighty pauses meant for emphasis rather than comfort. each syllable striking like thunder against fragile walls built around fragile hearts attempting desperately not just to survive but thrive despite everything threatening their existence together, moving forward into uncertain terrain ahead without clarity or direction, guiding them homeward once again where safety resided once upon a time long ago. What kind of message? Panic bubbled beneath my skin as reality began crashing down around us both, each revelation bringing forth new questions demanding answers none could provide easily without risking exposure further still beyond limits already crossed too many times, already leading nowhere good anymore. The kind that reveals secrets. His eyes narrowed dangerously now. Disappointment etched deeply across features once warm, filled only moments prior with love, instead turned cold hard stone, reflecting pain inflicted by choices made recklessly without thought, consequences looming darkly overhead, ready strike when least expected, catching off guard, unaware until far too late, realized true cost incurred far beyond anything imagined ever possible before embarking journey together toward unknown future filled uncertainty lies ahead. Waiting patiently just outside reach, beckoning closer, drawing nearer ever so slowly yet undeniably relentless pursuit, chasing dreams fading fast, slipping away forever, lost along paths chosen unwisely, leading nowhere good anymore toward inevitable reckoning. Looming closer day by day, forcing decisions upon unwilling hearts trapped, tangled webs spun tightly around souls yearning freedom, escape chains binding tightly, forged iron stronghold keeping captive forevermore unless acted upon swiftly, decisively before dawn breaks, revealing truths hidden, shadows, darkness obscured sight, clarity once bright dimmed, fading fast. As those words hung heavy between us, their implications echoing loudly throughout silence surrounding room, filled memories, laughter, joy, sorrow alike mingling together, creating tapestry woven intricately, lives intertwined forever, altered choices made here tonight. I braced myself knowing full well consequences awaited, no matter path chosen forward, either way would lead somewhere unexpected, perhaps even dangerous territory, fraught perilous outcomes unforeseen lurking just beyond horizon, waiting patiently strike when least expected, catching off guard unaware until far too late, realized true cost incurred far beyond anything imagined ever possible before embarking journey together toward unknown future filled uncertainty lies ahead, waiting patiently just outside reach, beckoning closer, drawing nearer ever so slowly yet undeniably relentless pursuit, chasing dreams fading fast, slipping away forever, lost along paths chosen unwisely, leading nowhere good anymore toward inevitable reckoning. Looming closer day by day, forcing decisions upon unwilling hearts trapped, tangled webs spun tightly around souls yearning freedom, escape chains binding tightly, forged iron stronghold keeping captive forevermore unless acted upon swiftly, decisively before dawn breaks, revealing truths hidden, shadows, darkness obscured sight, clarity once bright dimmed, fading fast. And then came realization crashing down upon shoulders burdened, heavy laden. A choice must be made soon enough, either fight fiercely, protect what remains, or embrace new path entirely different altogether, one fraught risks, unknown yet alluring, promise change beckoning brightly, inviting exploration beyond confines known, familiar safe spaces long since outgrown, left behind, seeking something greater beyond mere survival, thriving instead, living fully, embracing life anew despite challenges faced ahead. Daunting indeed, yet necessary, pursue lest remain stagnant forevermore, caught within cycle repeating endlessly, never-ending story written, fate sealed long ago. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow across the room. I lay awake, heart racing, mind swirling with thoughts of what had transpired. The message my husband discovered lingered like a specter in the air, its implications heavy and suffocating. I could still hear his voice, tinged with disbelief and betrayal, echoing in my mind. "Who is he?" he had asked, his tone sharp as a knife. "What have you done?" I had stammered, words failing me as I tried to piece together a response that would somehow mend the rift that had opened so suddenly. But there were no words that could bridge the chasm created by my choices. The thrill of the past weeks now felt like a distant memory overshadowed by guilt and fear. The phone buzzed on the nightstand, pulling me from my spiraling thoughts. It was an innocuous message from a friend about plans for the upcoming autumn festival. I stared at it blankly, memories flooding back of laughter shared over caramel apples and hayrides. Those moments felt like they belonged to another life, a life before secrets and lies had woven themselves into my existence. I rose slowly from bed, each movement deliberate as if I were walking through molasses. The house was eerily quiet. My husband had left early for work, leaving behind a silence that felt almost oppressive. I wandered into the kitchen, pouring myself a cup of coffee that tasted bitter against my tongue. As I sipped the steaming liquid, images of him flooded back, his laughter at family dinners, the way he had transformed from boy to man during his absence. Each memory was laced with regret and longing, a reminder of how quickly everything could unravel. I glanced at the clock. Time was slipping away too fast. There was no denying it. I needed to confront what lay ahead. My heart raced again as I thought about what would happen when he returned home later that day. Would we be able to talk? Could we salvage our marriage after everything that had happened? The doorbell rang unexpectedly, startling me from my thoughts. My stomach twisted in knots as I approached the door cautiously. Peering through the peephole revealed an all-too-familiar figure standing on my porch, my stepson. Panic surged within me as I hesitated before opening the door. What would he say? How could we face each other after everything? Yet there he stood, looking more like a man than ever before, confident and composed. "Hey," he said softly when I finally opened the door. "Hi," I managed to reply, forcing myself to meet his gaze despite the whirlwind of emotions threatening to consume me. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, his presence filling the room with an intensity that made my heart race anew. "I wanted to talk," he said quietly. "About what?" My voice trembled slightly as I closed the door behind him. He took a deep breath before speaking again. "About us." The weight of those words hung heavy between us. It felt like an electric charge in the air, a connection forged in secrecy and desire now laid bare before us both. "I don't know if we can keep doing this," I admitted finally, feeling vulnerable under his gaze. His expression shifted slightly. There was understanding mixed with something else, an unspoken yearning that mirrored my own conflicted feelings. "We can't just pretend it didn't happen," he replied firmly yet gently. I nodded slowly. Deep down, I knew he was right. The truth lingered between us like an uninvited guest at a gathering, impossible to ignore but equally impossible to address without consequences. Just then, my phone buzzed again on the counter, the same message from earlier flashing across its screen once more: "Plans for Autumn Festival?" In that moment of distraction, something shifted within me, a realization that perhaps this wasn't just about our relationship anymore but rather about facing all aspects of my life head-on, my marriage, my choices, everything. "I think we need some time apart," I blurted out suddenly, surprising even myself with those words. His eyes widened in shock as silence enveloped us once more, a silence filled with uncertainty and tension that felt almost unbearable. "Time apart," he echoed incredulously. "You want to walk away?" "It's not walking away," I insisted defensively. "It's trying to figure things out." He stepped closer then. There was desperation in his voice when he spoke next. "But what if this is what we both want? What if this is meant to be?" My heart raced at his words. The temptation of surrendering completely loomed large before me, but doubt crept in alongside hope. Could we truly navigate this tangled web without losing everything? Before either of us could respond further, another sound shattered our fragile moment. The front door swung open abruptly behind us. My husband stood framed in the doorway, his expression one of confusion quickly morphing into something darker as realization dawned upon him like a storm cloud gathering overhead. "What's going on here?" His voice cut through the air sharply. Anger mingled with hurt danced across his features as he took in our proximity, the tension palpable enough to slice through steel. In an instant, everything shifted once more. The fragile balance we'd tried so hard to maintain shattered irreparably beneath our feet as uncertainty spiraled into chaos around us. And just like that, the world tilted off its axis once again, leaving no clear path forward, only shadows lingering where clarity once reigned supreme.